Right, let's start with the Qataris then. Now, I'm interested what the takeover would mean for the debt of the club, for the manager at the club, the infrastructure at the club, and also possible protests by the fans.
OK, if the Qataris took over, it would be a case of debt. What debt? They are so rich that they can afford to buy the club, they can afford to invest in it, and they can afford to wipe out the debt. So there would be no debt and there would be no borrowing to finance their takeover of the club as well. As far as Erik ten Hag is concerned, I don't know for a fact, but my sense is that Sheikh Jassim is said to be a Manchester United supporter, so he has to be impressed with the job that Erik ten Hag is doing at the moment. So I'd be very surprised if he was to replace ten Hag and replace him with somebody like Zinedine Zidane. That's a name that's been mentioned. As far as transfers are concerned, I don't think we're going to see what we saw at PSG with like Galactico signings. But of course, Qataris have a lot of money. United will spend big in the transfer market. And as far as the infrastructure is concerned, we've been told they're going to redevelop Old Trafford. They're going to redevelop the training ground. The negatives, of course, a lot of people will be saying, is this Sheikh Jassim's bid or is this a state bid by Qatar? We're being told it's Sheikh Jassim's bid. Are you going to believe that? Depends if you're sceptical or not. And of course, there'll be lots of protests about the human rights situation in Qatar and also the fact that, for instance, homosexuality is criminalised in Qatar. So there will be very, very serious questions for them to answer if they do end up buying United.
Well, there'll be some protests. There'll be some United fans who say, give us the money so we can compete at the top table again, surely.
Yeah, some United fans will say, look, we had the World Cup in Qatar, Saudi Arabia, their Formula One races there, they own clubs, there is a lot of money from the Middle East in sport, so why shouldn't the Qataris own Manchester United? Some fans, yeah, that's what they'll think.
OK, so you've told me that Sheikh Jassim is a United fan. You told me yesterday that Sir Jim Ratcliffe is a United fan. So what about his bid? What is that going to mean for the club?
Look, as far as debt is concerned, it's a slightly different scenario because obviously Sir Jim Ratcliffe is not as rich as the Qataris. So his takeover would be part financed by debt.
Whoa, hang on. That's going to send shivers down United fans' spines, isn't it? Because they've been here before. He's going to borrow, so he can't afford it.
Well, look, I think what we have to make clear is he is going to borrow money to buy United, but that debt is not going to be put on the club. It won't be on United's balance sheet. He and Ineos will be responsible for that debt. So that's a crucial difference to what's happened under the Glazers. As far as the manager and transfers is concerned, again, he's a United supporter. He knows that Erik ten Hag is doing a fantastic job. So I'd be very surprised if he removed ten Hag. Transfers, look at what he's done at Nice. Over the past 3 seasons, their net spend has been 100 million euros, which is pretty significant in French football. So I think he would back Erik ten Hag. Stadium infrastructure, again, at Ineos, he's got a lot of experience of financing and overseeing infrastructure projects. So Old Trafford and the training ground would be redeveloped. When it comes to protests and criticisms, though, I think he would be accused of greenwashing. Qatari is accused of sports washing. He would be accused of greenwashing. And also, people would say, this is a guy who is a prominent Brexiteer, yet 2.5 years ago, he moved from the UK to the tax haven of Monaco. And some people would say what you were saying yesterday is, how come if he's such a big Manchester United supporter that he tried to buy Chelsea last summer? So serious questions for Sir Jim Ratcliffe to answer as well and address if he was to become the owner of United.
Quick one on the debt again. So he says he's going to cover that. He's going to borrow, but he'll cover it, not put it on United. What if he gets the club? Can he then change his mind and go, do you know what, I'm going to load it on the club?
Again, good question. Look, he can't guarantee that won't happen in the future, but we've been led to believe that it will not happen. We won't have the same scenario that we had with the Glazers. It won't be a leveraged buyout. There are very, very few people in the world who can just spend £5 billion on a football club and then another £2 billion on the stadium and the training ground. he's not going to just put his hands in his pocket and get out £7 billion. He needs to go to investment banks to finance that, but he will be responsible for that. Ineos will be responsible for that, not Manchester United.
OK, what if the Glazers stay?
OK, this could very well happen because they haven't come out and said we're definitely leaving. Now, if they stay, they may think now is not the right time to sell Manchester United. They're doing well on the pitch. They may just sell a minority stake in United and use that money to redevelop the stadium, and then they could stay in charge. Erik ten Hag, he's the man for the job. Carry on backing him, give him money to spend in the summer, definitely buy a striker as well. But there would be protests. A lot of United fans would be unhappy. 4 or 5 days ago, a survey in The Athletic said only 1.8% of United supporters would be happy if the Glazers stayed.
I'm surprised it's that many.
Well, there's 1.8% of people out there who want them to stay. But look, if they stayed, I think it would be difficult. There would be more protests, but it is their club. They own 69% of it, and they own almost all the really important shares that have voting rights. So they have total control, effectively. They don't want to sell it. They can keep it. They can batten down the hatches, rely on Erik ten Hag to do the business on the pitch and just say, look, we've put up with the fan protest before, we'll put up with it again, and maybe United will be worth even more 3, 4, 5 years' time.
Kaveh, I'm not sure if you're due back in the next hour, but I hope so, because I've got so much more I want to talk to you about this. It's fascinating. Kaveh Solhekol, our chief reporter